Welcome to the Future Proof Podcast. I'm Jessica Rapach. I am co-founder of Twin Legacy Solutions, and today I'm excited to have Carol Chenkin, CLC Enterprises, on the podcast today to talk some brand strategy. Carol, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice
How
to
are you
be
doing?
here.
Awesome.
I'm good.
Um,
Thanks for having me.
awesome. So I'd like to start off by just kind of letting our audience get to know you just a little bit better. So just
Mhm.
tell us who you are and kind of what you do, what your mission is in life.
Okay. Carol Chenkin, CLC Enterprises. I am the president and founder of my company. We have been in business for more than 30 years, doing full service marketing and branding and advertising for clients worldwide, specifically in not any specific category. That's what's so great about CLC. We work in all different vertical sectors, and no business is really too small or too large. Have worked with Fortune 50 companies and startup companies that are just getting off the ground. We love to help people bring their value proposition to life, and we've been pretty successful over the years doing it. Just a short by way of introduction, I started in my career at a Young and Rubicam, which is an advertising agency based in New York. Some may know it, some may not, but it has seven other companies that it owns: Conan Wolf, Wunderman Ricotta, Burson Marsteller, Cato Johnson, and so on. And I was fortunate to work for the PR arm of that at my beginning. And that's where I got all my public relations experience. And it was really wonderful working for companies like the New York Stock Exchange and Fluent Listerine and helping Tylenol reintroduce after their scare. And so many great, wonderful, big brand opportunities that allowed me to then come down here to Florida where I live and open my company. And it's kind of never looked back. It's evolved into helping nonprofits and businesses, as I've said, of all different sizes to do what they want to do in terms of marketing and advertising.
I love that. Oh, I can't wait to learn a lot more about how you go about that and how AI has kind of put a little spin into that. So I guess I'll jump
Yeah.
right into the questions. So you've been in marketing for a very long time. So over 30 years, that's amazing. Congratulations on that piece. What's been the biggest shift that you've seen in how companies grow and position themselves?
Well, I mean, listen, over time, we all have to pivot. I think the pandemic made us all have to pivot in a way that we never thought. And, we used to think like if you could get through that, you can get through anything. I mean, I had at the time clients that had events that were going to be in person, and we had to figure out how to go virtual, how to keep them alive, how to keep a nonprofit making money when a time when nobody wanted to give money because they didn't know what was going to happen in the world. And so I think it's being able to take those shift paradigms that happen in life and say, like, if I can't go through it, I'm going to go over it. I'm not going to go over it. I'm going to go around it. We're going to figure it out. Right. And so we always do that. And we try to come about the way we think for our clients, not typical, but using typical marketing strategies. Like, we all use social media. We all use paid advertising. We all use direct mail. We all, depending on the client, right? You take these tactics and use them. But I think the biggest shift that's going on in the world today is AI. And if we're not looking at this, I really don't care who you are. You have to be. This is a wake up call, knock, knock to everyone, because this is moving at like 100 years a day. Like we are moving so fast in terms of changes that it's hard for even, I think, a normal company to keep up with it. And if you're a small to medium sized business and you're trying to compete, regardless of whether it's in a community, on a national basis, on a regional basis, you really have to use some of these tools and the tool chests that are available now and that constantly are changing that we are trying to help our clients with in order to be able to compete, or you will be left behind.
Yes, this is a reoccurring theme. And I'd love to kind of dive into how, what are you guys using for AI for specifically in the industry that's really helping
Yeah.
you
So
shine,
we're doing, yeah, we're doing a lot of things for our clients, but specifically what we're doing right now, no matter who you are as an entry level client or a client that's been with us forever, is we're doing a visibility assessment. And what we do is we take a really deep dive on all different AI services, chat, perplexity, you name it. And we're really looking to see where you come up, how, when we search based on what we know to be your criteria, right? If you're a real estate person in Boca Raton and you want to be known as, the person that is the real estate agent for gated communities in high net worth developments on oceanfront properties, but you don't come up when people are searching oceanfront properties, real estate, Boca Raton, I think you have a problem, right?
oh
And
yeah.
how do we fix those problems, right? And so our thing is these visibility assessments are deep and long and They're very enlightening. I think for us as an agency, for our clients' value propositions, for them. I had a divorce lawyer. This is a perfect example, and, you know, she had been using a tagline that she felt was so good, right? It was the perfect tagline, and we agreed, right? Don't get me wrong. But then her stuff shifted, and she'd really been focusing on more about not just collaborative divorce, but private divorce. And while we didn't really talk about it, that's what she was focusing more on, and we were doing what we were doing. And that's where this it's really important for communication.
Oh, for sure.
And so we did a visibility assessment for her, and it came back that she was really scoring high in mediation and not at all in private divorce. And she was like, "What?
Yeah.
What?" Like,
Wow.
"Okay." And we were like, "Yeah, so I guess we need to change the tagline, and we need to do some things to your website, and we need to figure out how to make sure you're the answer to the questions that you want people to be searching you for." And so we've been working on that, and that's just a perfect little example. There are just so many things. Don't understand that the AI intelligence, if they look for you on your website and they see certain things, and it's not communicated the same way on your social, and it's not in your newsletter, and it's not on in your LinkedIn, you're dead. Like you're dead because it just says these people don't know what they're saying and who they are, and I can't recommend them.
Yes.
So it's about cohesiveness. It's about being sure that you're buttoned up. It's about understanding what you do want your value proposition to be and communicating that.
I love that. And that's like in any areas, right? If you're consistent with your brand and your vision, you're probably going to be consistent with your services. So it says a lot about a company to me. I love that overview that you do for companies because that's hard. That happens a lot of times with us specifically. We think we have a certain brand or vision that we're kind of emulating, and people are like, "Oh yeah, you're just a lead gen company." Well, no, we're not. We're actually a strategy company. Like, like we have and it takes time to kind of develop your presence online, and it is a lot of work. So if people are doing that in house these days, it's quite a task. So I commend
Yeah,
you.
I
Yeah.
think I think people don't understand, and that your point there is not a nuance. It's a real thing. The difference between strategy and lead generation, they don't understand, right? And sometimes we marketing is just cupped into like it's one thing, right? But
Right.
it's not. There's lots of different things that go into marketing.
So many things. Yeah, I agree. So, talking about strategy, so what are the core principles of brand strategy and marketing that haven't changed, even with all the new tools and technology? Have there been things that have been pretty consistent that you've seen that are core values of the brand strategy, essentially?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's pillars to core brand strategy. I think understanding your voice, right? What is your voice, company A, B, C? Who are you and what do you want to be known for? What are you trying to sell? Is it a service? Is it a product? Is it whatever? Is that clearly defined, right? So getting all of that clear, making sure that your digital footprint communicates that, right? Those core things are very important. So is your social buttoned up? If you do email and digital output, is that being, clearly defined and used? What other paid strategies are you using? Those things haven't changed. They may have improved or been, Facebook is Facebook, but it's changed, right? It is still a platform that people are using in so many different ways. We didn't think 15 years ago it would be what it is today, right?
Of
And there are blessings and curses to all of this,
course.
right? But you can't without it, you would never be able to reach the amount of people without taking out national advertising in a way, right? Than you can
Right.
do through social. Blessing. But how it's used and who's using it and all of that stuff, you can't control that. You can only control what you do for your clients and how you do it. That's kind of what I say. So we walk the walk, we talk the talk, and we stay with that principle. And I think the other thing is, there are other tactics, as I, sort of mentioned before. Things like, some clients, like my real estate clients, still use direct mail. A lot of people don't believe in direct mail. It's too expensive. It's too this, it's too that. But if you're a real, it's pretty hard not to be able to use this. They're looking for those flyers in the mailbox. They're looking for the, the postcards and things. And then there's things like, some sort of like, email drip campaign. Right. A lot of clients still use those and really find them effective. It depends who you are. Nonprofits use them all the time. I use them all the time, and we're very successful in fundraising using those. So I think a lot of the tactics have remained the same core principles. And as things have evolved and other things become available, we sprinkle them into the mix and we figure out what are, I kind of talk about it like a big pot of soup. There are all these different things that you can use to build that campaign for a particular client. Which ones make sense? And most importantly, it's about money. Let's be honest. Like, not every client has budgets to match everything. So we do the crawl, walk, run. We figure out how do we start? What do we get them the best bang for the buck using the principles that we can with the budgets that we have? And then we evolve from there. As they make money, they put money back into the marketing, right? That's the growth opportunity.
Right. Absolutely. So I have an off question. Just you're talking about marketing and stuff, and that I meet a lot of CEOs and founders. They all have their internal marketing teams, but does your company come in? Like, I feel like sometimes companies can get tunnel vision on what they think they're doing. They think they have a solid marketing plan. Well, everyone's doing LinkedIn. Well, everyone's doing Facebook ads. Well, everybody's trying some kind of cold email or whatever, or direct mail, like you're saying. Is there times where you get called in to kind of do an assessment on internal teams? And do you find more often than not that they're in the right direction, or that they kind of have tunnel vision and they need a little bit redirecting?
This is such an interesting question because I just had this conversation internally with my
Oh,
team. I'll tell you why. I think that, as any CEO or someone who runs a company, you need to do a reality check with yourself, right? And I'm constantly saying to myself and to my team, like, are we doing everything that we could be doing for a particular client? We can't get stuck in the rut of if it's working, it's great. Because if it's working and it's great, that's for now. That doesn't mean 6 months from now. And the client's not going to be the one to say, like, what's next? What do we do? What they're expecting you to be the what's next, what it's new. So I've kind of set a challenge for my team, and we have this set now on our clients internally once a week to have a brainstorm meeting to talk about new challenges. Like, what are new things that are evolving out there that we should know about? Everybody's responsible to bring something new to the table each week. And we are going to look at those and say, yeah, that's a really cool new thing that we didn't know about. We should bring that into the pot, right? And we
right.
should be thinking about how does that impact what we're doing. We have gotten caught over the years where, and I think that's how I've learned, right? Where a client said to me, but like I heard about that, da, da, da," and I've been like, shit, I didn't know about this, right? And then you go like, why didn't I know about that, right? Like you can't know about everything, but you want to try to know about everything.
Right.
I read a lot. I look at all the marketing rags. I look at the things I subscribe to. I mean, my husband says like I've never seen anybody get so much email in my entire life. It's across
Yeah.
all gamuts, right? Because I
Yeah.
like to look at from technology to retail to, what's happening with the drug companies because also the way they might be marketing something may not necessarily be exactly right, but it could be very interesting to say like, or there's an interesting call to action here. How do I take that and use that for what I'm doing over here,
Oh,
right?
for sure. Oh, yeah.
So I feel like you can never stop challenging yourself. And when you do, that's usually when your client's going to come back to you and say, things are seeming a little static or a little whatever. You want to be the one to change. We constantly like, for example, for certain clients that have a value proposition and look on social, I'll say every 5 to 6 months, let's change it up. We're not changing the brand colors, we're not changing this, but maybe it's, the way we do it. Maybe we go to, for like a nonprofit we had, it's very in the oranges and whites and whatever. And I said, let's turn it on its head and go to a sepia, make it more browns with the orange as an accent. So when you look at the actual grid, all of a sudden there's a major shift. It's going to make someone stop and look.
Yeah.
That's what.
I love that.
So constantly trying to think, but we're people.
100%. I mean, we are in the AI IT sector of tools. People come to us and it's like, what AI tool I would recommend to you last month might not be the same tool this month. And there's so many coming out. So there's no way. I mean, I would definitely never expect anybody to stay on top of everything, but it's hard. I mean, if you're following the research, the blogs, the podcasts, all those things to keep up with the times, it's a lot. It's a lot going on. It's
It is a
overwhelming.
lot.
It's
It
overwhelming.
is.
And then my next question, just out of my own personal curiosity here,
Okay.
I get the question a lot of, well, so how many marketing strategies should I have? Should I do all of it at once? Should I start it all at once? Should I start with one and then add as I go? Or like, what's too much? What's too little? Like, do you have any guidance on like where a company should? And I know this might be variable, of course, but
I think my answer to that question is kind of what I say to every client when we start, right? We need to do an assessment of where you are. If you're a new company that you're starting out and you don't have anything, you're building the foundation of the house. Okay. And to do that, you got to get everything really buttoned up, you need to know what your mission is. You need to know what your value proposition is. You need to know that your website looks like what your value proposition, like everything, all your ducks have to be in row, your social. And then you can build that foundation. And then as you actually start to move out there and market, and I call it building, like letting the train out of the station. You want to build the momentum and then you want to actually take off. Because if you just take off like a freight train, inevitably something's going to get messed up, right? Like you forgot something, the wheels are going to come off the train and you're going to have to start over again. Like, no. But I think like for the most part, it's really important that we're just looking at everything as a case by case situation. For most of my clients, what I try to do is sort of a core principle of if you're a company that's been around for a while, we hub and spoke. Like if you're a local based company and I'm helping you because you want to South Florida clientele, we're going to hub and spoke. We're going to geo target our ads on Facebook and Instagram. We're going to make sure that we're, using communication tools here, creating events locally to have people come. If you're a, regional company, there's going to be different tools that we're going to use. If you're a national company, there's another whole set of tools. And also those budgets change. And that's
Oh, yeah.
important to think about in terms of the mix, right?
Right. Yeah. So I guess it is variable. So I think that's probably why it's so essential that when you go work with a company, you do that visibility check so you can really get a clear picture.
1,000%.
And so you're unique in that, like, there's not many marketing companies that would help with like the mission statement or, so if you get into a company and they think they have all their ducks in a row and they're ready to go to market, and then you kind of say, hey, let's strategize a little bit more about what that mission means and a clearer message. So that's something your company's willing to do to work with companies to just make sure that's very solid before they spend thousands. I mean, marketing's not cheap. I don't want to go out there and spend thousands of dollars unless I know that
Right.
my brand and my mission is very clear.
Sure, you've run into this once or twice. I've run into it a number of times. It's so interesting to me how people can say to you, I know exactly who I am. I know exactly what I want. And I know exactly what I want to say. And then you brainstorm and you sit down and you start talking and you're like, excuse me? I don't think you realize that what you said in your intake is very different than what we had in our conversation, right? So my job is to tell you the good, bad, and the ugly, right? Also, like I am with my clients, and I have a lot of clients that, they have difficult circumstances. They've lost their children in, the Parkland shooting and, my job is to help them to market their nonprofits. And I have to deal with delicate things like, one of their children's birthdays is coming. And like, how do we use that as an opportunity for people to understand what the nonprofit's doing right now? And for you as a parent to say 8 years later, how you feel, right? What's going on in the world. And so I'm always straddling like, hey, this is my disclaimer to say what I'm telling you is because I'm doing this because I want to help you to do what you're saying you want to do. And it may not always come out. So I'm sorry in advance. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
But I'm
yeah.
going to do my job and you're going to tell me whether you agree with me or not. And many times I don't, not patting myself on the back here, but I think it's hard. It's like you see something the way you want to see it. And sometimes it takes an outside perspective for someone to say to you, and then all of a sudden the light bulb goes off and you're like, shit, I didn't realize, or I shouldn't say it like that.
I'm worried we get some veterans on here.
Yeah, that you're right. I'm thinking it's coming out one way, but what I'm really saying is this way. I mean, I've had clients that have said, I like a neutral palette. I never want to use color, this, that, and the other thing. And then they send me their colors, and I'm like, turquoise is not neutral. Gotta tell you, like
Yeah,
turquoise is not neutral.
yeah.
Just it's very interesting, but that's what makes, as I say, horse races. Like everybody comes with their own set of who they are, circumstances, perspectives, feelings, beliefs. And then we're trying to figure out how to like make that happen in a business situation in a way that will work, that the consumer will understand it.
I
Right.
mean, I, for
Yeah.
one, appreciate a direct approach. I feel like if you're going to invest everything you've got into your company, I want a blunt
Yeah.
response. I want a very straightforward outside perspective. I think that's the advantage of outsourcing things like marketing or even pretty much any sector of your business. Having someone come in and kind of say like, "Hey, this isn't the best," or "This could be
Yeah.
better." It's only going to make you grow, and usually
I
that's
I
how.
think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right, but I think like been around the block a few times and I have learned that when clients, this is the same principle, right? They say one thing, but really what they want is someone just to execute for them. They don't want you to tell you. They don't want to
Oh,
hear.
I like that. That's even
They
better.
just,
That's
they
even
just want
better.
they just want you to be the executor. And I have a problem with that because One of the founding principles of my company is I treat your business the way I would run mine. And so if I feel like I'm doing something that I don't just in my gut feel right about,
Mm.
and I tell you that and you say, okay, do it anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I have had divorces with clients, they happen. When you're, as we say in the Jewish religions, shidduch, when you have that marriage and it works, and then when it's not. And I think that you really want to be in line with your clients in a relationship where you don't always agree, but that you have the forum and ability to say how you feel, they say how they feel, and that what they value, what you bring to the table, right?
Yeah.
That's what they're hiring us for.
Absolutely. No, I get it. It's hard to find people that execute too, right? So I get what you're saying. I'm actually very much
Mhm.
like you. I will make suggestions. I have some clients that are like, I like it to be a mutual partnership. Like, this is what I'm recommending
Yeah.
based on
Mhm.
see in the market, based on the research I've done. However, what are your thoughts about it? I have
Mhm.
some clients that are like, oh, if you think so, just go off and do it. Well, I do really
Right,
want to
right.
know. I want to know that you're also in line with that, or your little feedback
Absolutely.
why you did it like this for 10 years when I'm coming in and telling you this is a little bit different. Some are just like, go with it, but some are like, I'm not doing it wrong. Okay, well, you hired me to tell
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's go
I
either
could
way.
so relate,
Go
so relate.
it is.
Totally get it. Yeah,
Okay,
I mean,
sorry. These were all spin-off questions of my own version because I'm just thinking like a co-founder myself, like and talking to so many people, like I just hear this feedback with, especially
oh, it's all good. Mhm,
there's always been like kind of like a heartache around marketing. People like spend so much money into it, and it's like, am I doing
yeah.
it right? Oh, I've been burned so many times. Or, you've heard all
Oh,
this.
I get that all the time. I
Like,
get
I've
that
been
all the time.
burned. They promised X,
I'm
Y,
the one.
Z.
Yeah, I'm the one they come to after, well, this company and that company, and, I've gone to this company, and they all said this, and none of them delivered. I said, "Well, I don't know what to tell you, but that's not
Yeah,
who we are, right?
right.
We're
And
gonna show you measurable results."
100%. I get it. Okay, so let's get back to some of my questions because these are good too. Okay, so as AI becomes more integrated into things like outreach, messaging, lead gen, what do you think separates companies that are using it truly to grow their brand versus those that are just kind of just adding to the noise?
I'm not I mean, I think if I understand if your question they say they use it, but they don't really do it. Is that what you're saying? I'm not sure I
Maybe
understand
That's
your
that's a bad question. Let's go to a different one.
yeah.
So, do you think AI is enhancing strong marketing strategy or exposing weak strategy even more? So I guess when I have clients come in and say, I want to embed AI everywhere. And my first response is like, so let's take a look at your processes to make sure they're solid and then we
Mhm,
can enhance them. If I just come and just implement all these different AI tools, which are really efficient, but then your process is really terrible, it's going to amplify your terrible process. Are you seeing the same thing with marketing and
mhm.
strategy?
The reality is it's the same thing we were just sort of talking about. Like, if you don't have the core principles, the foundation of your house, the walls up, right, all that stuff, and then you just start throwing in tools and technology and, all this stuff to do things that you think are gonna be the Band-Aid to hold it all together and make it, like, take off, it's not gonna work. I mean, the Band-Aid's gonna bust, the boat's gonna sink. For sure. And I think, AI is, we don't even know what AI is yet. Like, we don't even know the depth and breadth of what it can do. But we do know that it is going to allow us to do more than we ever thought possible. Right. And where that takes us is to the around the moon and back and around again. And who knows? In the meantime, clients have certain specific things that they need done. And some of those things can be greatly impacted by AI. And some of those things are just like they need the human touch, right? They still need the person who, and even when we do use I gotta say, like, if you think you're just gonna put that thing in like the kids do for their reports in school and then like hand it in, but
Yeah.
you don't read it to see that it has misinformation and didn't say that it didn't type the name right and it didn't, I mean, come on. Let's realize it's still not perfect. Nothing is perfect in this world. That's why you need to do the things that we do. Like, so you feed it in to get better information. And then you compare that information with the research you've done in other places to see, does it all jive? Does that make sense? Does it come up with a better tagline word smithing of the words that we did? Or are our words better?
Right.
I don't know.
Absolutely. AI prompting these days is very hit or miss. The human element is
Yeah.
going to be, especially with creativity. Like I'm a proponent of AI, but I also a very big proponent of the human intervention. collaborating together to kind of enhance
Right.
and take away those menial tasks, enhance your ideas. But businesses kind of relying on AI for all the answers, I think is quite obvious. And you want to still be inventive. I feel like companies are still going to thrive because they're inventive, they're creative, they're unique, they have character. If you're just using AI, everybody's going to be dumping into AI and getting the same
Right.
thing. So
Right.
you need
Yeah.
it,
I mean,
especially in marketing. I feel like it's so important in marketing to really have that edge to make you stand out. Like the game is to try to stand out and why use your product
right.
in 200 companies, why you. And I think it's very important.
I mean, there's a lot going on, recent things in the New York Times. If you've read some of the articles, they talk about how brands are shifting now to micro influencers and they're looking at, smaller people with smaller social followings to actually help to drive their messages rather than looking at the big mega influencers. And
Oh,
there's a thought proposition there because, not just because it's cheaper, right? But I think that they feel like it's truly more organic. It's truly more like these people are just still, they're not tarnished by the fact that they have hundreds or millions of followers yet. They're just starting out. They're really who they are. They're talking in the way they do. They clearly effectively communicate my brand product proposition, right?
mm.
So it's kind of interesting to see. I feel like sometimes some of this is going way forward fast in a lot of directions in tech and this and that. But there's a little bit of like, I don't know, going back to your roots. Like, I don't know if I'm saying it the right way. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, I know exactly what you're saying. Well, I like to use the analogy of like when you're buying a house, right? So there's these, snazzy modern houses and everything's brand new, built brand new. But then sometimes people just want to buy that old house with the bricks in the character with the unique
Yeah.
layouts. It's
Yeah.
just, it depends on what you're looking for. And I think that there's no one size fits all when it
True.
comes down to this kind of
Hmm.
stuff. So I can believe that. That's interesting about the New York Times with the
Hmm.
micro, what are they calling them? Micros or
Micro influence.
influence.
Micro influence.
That
They're
is very cool.
using, yeah, people with small followings rather than a lot of times they're paying people that have big followings, $1 million, those partnerships,
Mhm.
million people followings, a lot of money to do paid partnerships. Right now, they're looking at peeling that back and using smaller influencers to help to drive their brand strategy because they feel like it's going back to more of like grassroots.
I love that. Wow. Well, you obviously have a lot of history in the marketing, the brand strategy. You've been through many, many big companies, smaller companies, and
Yeah.
you have a really
Mhm.
cool, unique background. So, if someone's looking for your services or just wanting to draw you in, get that visibility check done, just to see where you're standing. I feel like we all need that
Sure.
check once in a while, whether it be with AI, strategy, marketing. Where can they find you?
So we love talking to people. So just never hesitate to email us. Carol at carolchenkin.com. You can visit our website at clcent.com. You can find us online. We have the same handle, CLCENT, on Instagram and Facebook. But the fact is, calls, you can look us up. We're available. You can get us at, in the old look online for the phone number. We exist. And we really love just to talk to people. It doesn't have to be that a call has to follow with, sign me up. We believe in paying it forward, brainstorm, talk about it. Maybe it's not right now, but it would be right later. And, let's spark some ideas and have a little brainstorm.
Absolutely. And I know you said you're local to Florida, but you do virtual marketing. I mean, in
We
this
can,
age, I feel like you can do anything online. So you're
yeah.
also spanning the US, yes?
And international. I mean,
Oh,
I
neat.
just, finished working on a client in something on London. We're working with a client in California. We have a client that lives in Chicago. Yeah, first of all, there's still planes, right? Everybody
Yeah.
remember there's still a plane, right?
Yeah.
And, the use of things like Zoom,
Oh,
Google Meets.
sure.
Today, you can basically, as if we were just meeting together, no problem. And so, yeah, our clients are everywhere and we can be everywhere. So
Love
it's
that.
great.
Well, Carol, thanks again for being on the podcast. I've learned a bunch of things, and I'm sure a lot of people enjoyed learning about your background and what you guys do and what you're kind of helping companies with. I appreciate your thoughtfulness with how you run your
Thank
business.
you.
So I'm sure
Thank
you'll
you so
get,
much.
yeah. All right. And to our
Appreciate it.
listeners, thanks for tuning in today. Until next time, we will see you again on the Future Proof Leader. Bye, Carol.
Bye.